Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the National Racing Network's live coverage of the iRacing US Open Wheel Doubleheader at Road Atlanta. It's the Bizzle Show tonight. No Chris Graham here with me, but alongside me is going to be Sebastian Kinder, kindly joining us from across the Atlantic over there in France. And as always here on the Thursday nights, James Watson. Tonight, we'll see some of the greatest sim racers on the iRacing platform tackle Road Atlanta, a 2.5-mile road course situated in Braselton, Georgia. This track, absolutely fantastic. It once doubled as an airport in a special in the early 80s. A little bit of a backstory there, but I don't think we can talk about that one on air.
Now, the early days of IMSA.
Oh yeah, IMSA has a whole nother acronym it stands for. Now, Sebastian, I got some questions for you. You were over there in France, obviously. You went to Le Mans 24. How was that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for days about that experience. It was a dream come true, and it still had to cope with the fact that I'm back to my normal life now.
Yeah, you met some of our other fellow TNT racers, Jason Owens and McCullen, two notable ones. They both flew out there and went to go see the excitement.
Yeah, I did. I did see them, and it was fantastic. Like to finally see some of my American friends in real life. So now I can't wait to meet you two guys now.
Hell yeah! Well, you got to come down to the States. Go catch the Indy 500 together. Now, one last question before we get to tonight's racing. Is that your first time ever seeing a NASCAR stock car go around a speedway?
Yes.
Absolutely cool thing that NASCAR did, sending one of the stock cars out over to France and kind of showing the GT guys how it's done. Now, right now, we've got David Percelli out on track. David Percelli, one of the absolute top talents in these races. And Watson, you've raced against Percelli a bunch. He's one of your drivers, isn't he?
Yes, sir. Reigning champion, hoping to bring home the team's third championship this season. Well, you're not really going to find a whole lot of people a lot more talented than him. He's one of the best guys around.
And unfortunately, Trading Paint's not cooperating tonight. Usually that car has a big Team Watson Racing Setups logo on the side of it, but fortunately it does not seem like it wants to work tonight.
Relatable.
Currently no times on the board to show. David Percelli finishing up his out lap right now. Currently on his first lap is Benjamin Barretu. Out there coming through turn number 1 now, through the uphill S's. Completely blind corner here. You kind of just send it in towards those cones and try not to run wide.
Yep.
Yeah, you just kind of eyeball it. You're like, I think this is where I'm supposed to turn in and just pray.
Now imagine that in redacted car, the I-18.
Yeah.
This place is the coffin corner.
That's coffin corner in a lot of cars.
Now, one thing of note, no Carter Lundy once again tonight. It's the first race of 2023, season number 3. And Carter Lundy notably absent after almost winning the championship last season. If he would have just showed up each and every week, and once again missing out some big races.
Yeah, he seems to have a bit of a schedule change. I know he's able to make the USF up a lot more.
And we'll ride along with Wes Shire, one of the masters of this car. And this track, really. He is a huge fan of this track, and guys like Ben Carswell can't really figure out why. But top time on the board is still going to be Benjamin Barteo at a 1 minute 15.632 second lap. David Percelli, the man usually on top in that number 1 car, a little bit slower. Everett Paddock going faster than David Percelli, still 2/10 off the mark set by Benjamin.
I used to race against Benjamin Barreto a lot in the Formula Renault 2.0 back when that was popular. heard, he's an incredibly talented guy.
The law firm, Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, puts it 4th on the board, still going to be slower than Percelli, Paddock, and Benjamin Barteo. Benjamin, kind of a new name here, new face, at least to me on the open wheel side. I know you've said you've raced him a bunch before, but usually we're seeing Carter Lundy on that top spot. Another driver to note, Brian Labarge, a driver who claims he is just slightly above average in the number 11 car there, putting himself 5th on the board so far. I think he needs to give himself a little more credit.
Yeah, especially with the stack fields of the beginning team. Those are usually the same.
Yeah, like he's going up against the best in the world in this car so far and hanging with them pretty well.
David Porcelli getting ready to pull it off the track. He's finished both his qualifying laps. Nagisa Yoshikawa finishing up his 2nd lap. Expect one quick time out of him. He is usually one of the top guys, especially on these faster road courses. Real-life kart racer based out of Chicago, I believe.
Correct.
Another one of your drivers, James.
Yes, sir. Our builder of our awesome PM18 sets.
And Nagisa Yoshikawa coming across the start-finish line, puts him 6 quick, still 0.2 of a second off of Brian Labarge, who goes even faster that time.
I mean, James, everyone is part of TWR at some point.
They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, I believe you have this whole platform under your wing.
Not yet, but soon, TM.
Jason Miller out now on his 2nd lap. His 1st lap was a little bit slow, but 2nd lap could be a good bit quicker. Jason Miller, usually, again, one of the top talents. I don't think there's a driver in this field I would consider bottom tier talent. All of these guys are 13, 14 of the best guys on the service.
Oh, absolutely.
Wes, excuse me, Seb, you can't just come in here across the Atlantic and then take my line.
Oh, absolutely.
James, you're doing it too now. Oh, man.
Yeah, Patrick, now you have to endure what Chris had to suffer with us too. Chris left the kid at home.
I missed the crazed French noises in the broadcast booth.
Oh, you get to see them. With this track? Oh dear.
So unfortunately, still not able to get trading paints up and running. That's a software that really should be fixed at some point. But it's time for the drivers to start getting onto the grid. So we wait for everyone to work their way to the grid, get the cars fired up, and get this show on the road. One thing to note is it is a full pace lap here at Road Atlanta. This is a 2.5 mile circuit with a backstretch long enough to land a 737 on. It's going to be one long pace lap. It's a lot of time to get in your head. James, whenever you're sitting here on the grid and having to go along at 50 miles an hour for what feels like eternity, does that change the way you approach the race? Does it slow you down a little bit, or you just go on like normal?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said it doesn't. You know, you try not to think about it too much. It's almost like icing the kicker in football. In a way, like the less time you have to dwell on the task at hand, the better it works out for you. But sometimes it is nice to sit, relax, make sure you got all your settings right. Pray to whatever deity you look up to, who just do everything you need to do to make sure that you're gonna have a great race.
And Seb, what about you? I know we don't see you driving these cars very often. Obviously, the U.S. time slots don't really work well for a guy living in France. But do you notice any change for a long pace lap? Like when you do 3 pace laps over at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, or even a track like this where you're going around a road course for this long?
3 pace laps at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That sounds specific for an event I did recently. I'll be honest with you, I hate pace laps. I just want to get this done as quickly as possible. So, but yeah, a long pace lap. Usually I'm just like, well, let's just ride along. I usually try to enter my line. This is why I don't like pace laps.
Alrighty, so no fancy grid graphics like Chris is able to put up here. Can't get those working tonight for you, but I can run you down the running order. Starting in the first position is going to be Benjamin Barteo. He is going to be on that inside, or actually I believe the outside going into turn one. A little bit of a disadvantage for him. To his inside is going to be David Porcelli in the second spot. David, one of the top talents of this series. Champion last season, looking to do it again this time. Everett Paddock, the number 2 car, second fastest guy in the field. He's going to be starting in the third position, and next to him will be Mobin Khan. In the fifth position will be that number 7 car of Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. We call him the law firm over here. That's why he's got 3 names. He's going to lay the book down and try and get there to that top spot. Brian Labarge to his outside. Behind those guys are going to be Nagisa Yoshikawa and Ari Korkadillos. Behind them, Rod Eskew and Jason Miller. Wes Shire and Stephen C. Thompson behind that group. Brian Karszewski and Nicholas Daly, and Jerome Hagg starting shotgun on the field in that number 8 car. You see him laying back there a little bit. He's got the best view in the house, I think, for this start.
Oh, absolutely. Like with that first turn, you gotta be careful.
This is probably the most stressful position to sit, especially going into these S's. You see how many cars are in front of you. It's kind of intimidating, I would think. This is the view that I want going into the first turn.
Right? Because you sit there like, how am I going to pass all those cars?
That's going to be tough.
As the pace car is starting to dive down pit road, these guys have to hold it at the pace speed of 55 miles an hour, but Benjamin does not. He takes that number 3 car for an early jump into the final corner. He's going to take the green flag first, and he's going to be single file for your race lead. Single file again, David Porcelli right behind him, and in third, Everett Paddock is going to be single file now coming through the first set of corners. Very difficult to go too wide through here, so it's a good thing they single filed out, and we don't have any carnage through this field just yet. Seems like everyone is safe so far. Huge move by Nagisa Yoshikawa.
That's big balls.
Coming up now at the very top of the panhandle. Slowest corner on the track here into the fastest section before the chicane. This back straightaway, we've said it before, you can land a 737 here. You either know or you don't know what happened with that plane, but I can't tell you over the air. Porcelli with the huge draft into the chicane. Is he going to pull out and kind of play his cards here, or is he going to hide them? Not going to make the dive. He's just letting Benjamin know, hey, I'm here. I can make that move if I want it.
Yes. I mean, why would you make that move lap 1? If you know you have the pace, just hold on. Just watch the pace of Benjamin, and you'll see if really behind they start to get impatient, maybe you can do that move. Right now, there are only 2 of them, wherever just like behind.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get by him, and he's going to look to go too wide through the S's. I don't know if that's such a great idea. But yeah, it's a lot easier just to intimidate him, force him into making a mistake, get him off into the grass, and then you don't have to worry about him catching you.
But we see it all the time in these races. The guys at the pointy end of the field, they'll make like a gentleman's agreement to just stay behind one another and just draft and try to see if they can break from as many cars as possible.
Riding on board with Everett Paddock in that number 2 machine. I think he's got the best seat in the house coming to this chicane. Seeing what moves, what lines David Porcelli's going to try and make. You see him ducking out a little bit early. They're going to run 2x2 going into the chicane.
Oh, this... He's going for it. He's going for it. Oh, Everett, no, it's your chance, buddy.
I tell you, the trading paint's not working. It's tripping me out. Like, it's so weird seeing Everett in a non-traditional TNT Racing yellow and black scheme that we've seen him in for these past 2+ years.
Yeah, I don't normally run trading paint, so I'm used to seeing these guys in these colors, but yeah, definitely all the viewers, we're used to watching them with their normal paint schemes, and unfortunately software doesn't want to work tonight, wants to be uncooperative. But Ari Corcadillos in that number 6 machine setting the new fastest lap of the race. He is up to a 1:16.065. I think that's almost faster than some of the qualifying times we saw.
Yeah, having all this draft really helped getting some crazy lap times.
David Borcelli making the move. He is not clear just yet, but he's there. He's going to have the inside to the second part of the chicane, and he gets him. David Borcelli, new race leader. Can he claim the lap and hold it across the line?
Yeah, Ben was looking.
He does. Ben pulling out. He's going to try and make the move in the turn number 1.
Oh, brave. Let's see how he goes.
Not a section of track I'm want to go too wide through, especially through the blind right-hander right here. Wisely backing out of that one.
Gotta see PM18 now still delivering as usual.
Yes, sir.
Nothing has changed. Hold the phone. Now it's Ari who is in third place.
Checking in the comments, Cody Brooks. I think he's laughing at you guys stealing all of my lines. Benjamin Barteo really following David, trying to drag him down that back straightaway. I've got some opinions on it, doing it at a track like Indianapolis, but around here, I think it's fair game. Ari Corcadillos up to that 3rd position now. Sebastian, you were just about to say something on that. What were you going to say? You saw something I didn't.
No, I was just reflecting on what you just said.
Ari with a new fastest lap. He's down to a 1:15.769. He is... Oh, yeah, nice. He is over half a second faster than your race leader, David Porcelli's fastest lap of the race. So Ari is on a mission. He wants to get this checkered flag for himself. 15 laps to go in this one.
Ooh, very aggressive.
Closest battle on track is going to be Alexander Wesley Hazelworth and Mobin Khan. These two cars really running nose to tail right up to the point where I shot the camera on them. So we'll let them get back to battling. We'll look at your leaders once again. We call it the Cam Ops curse. You point cameras at cars that are battling and they just go single file.
Yep.
Not these
Better
leaders,
than the
though.
commentator curse.
This is like the snake move. I mean, I don't find using it.
See,
I
James,
don't find it effective either in most times.
you are the master of the commentator's curse, James. Care to explain to our audience how exactly that works?
I don't have a whole lot of luck, so usually I give it to whoever I'm giving praise on, and it always ends bad for them, and I apologize.
That is why you will never hear James Watson complimenting one of his own cars here on the grid. Every time he does, they end up crashed out of the race. But
Well,
I'm not
it's
afraid to. David Porcelli doing an absolute fantastic job in this race so far. I don't think I've seen him slip up once. Oh, the 13 car of Mobin Khan getting a little bit into the dirt. He seems to be okay, though, but he is going to let Alexander Wesley Hazelworth by him.
That corner can easily catch you off. And if you mistake here, you're screwed for the entire backstretch. You make one.
Yep.
Ooh, there.
It's agonizing watching the time just melt away
Yeah.
in a bad way.
I think that's the most difficult corner on this track because it's the slowest corner on the track, and you want to get through it as quickly as possible and maximize the exit to go down that long straightaway. When you screw it up, the whole lap is cooked.
Here comes Ari.
Ari, though, New fastest lap once again and moves himself up to the second position. It's just David Porcelli now in front of him. Porcelli with a fast lap as well at a 1:15.804, but Ari's still a tenth of a second faster lap after lap. Only 2/10 of a gap between those cars. I think by lap 10 we could have a new race leader.
This is it, folks. Grab the popcorns.
David Porcelli once again absolutely snaking down that back straightaway, just trying to break the draft. Ari not taking the bait though, just gonna stick to his own line, stay to that inside, and here he goes with the huge dive into the chicane. Almost contact there between those two cars.
You can't bump in these things.
You absolutely can. You just gotta hit him square right in the gearbox. You inch it off to either side and you're wrecking him.
I'd rather not bump in an open wheeler.
No ball.
Oh, come on, you.
I need to show you how to bump draft the 79 for our Wednesday league.
Yep. I don't know. I already can't long drive this car. Do you expect me to long drive in Lotus 79? You're crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's not as hard as it looks. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not damaging the car.
So you guys fight over the Lotus 79. David Porcelli and Ari are still fighting, and I think Ari's going to get another huge run down this back straightaway, and I think this time he's going to wisen up and maybe wait to make the move till the final part of the chicane. Faking towards the right side now. He's going to force Porcelli to sacrifice the entry to the first part of the chicane. You could see how much slower he had to take it, and that puts Ari right on the rear gearbox of that number 1 machine.
Yeah, this is why I don't like to say. If I feel like I have the car, it's okay if I get overtaken. Yeah, here comes Ari.
Ari with another new fastest lap of the race. 15.671, 446 out of that car. It's even quicker. And takes the race lead. You have a new race leader tonight. I said by lap 10, and he's already up there by lap number 9. And with the pace he's been setting, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts running away with this one. It's going to be the Ari Kirk show.
I doubt it. Don't count on David Porcelli yet.
And you can see these top 4 have built up an absolute breakaway from 5th position, Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. Hazelworth only entering those final 2 corners, and a huge slide out of Hazelworth through the final part of that double right-hand corner. That is going to give Mobin Khan that 5th position back. Our leaders, though, getting ready to battle once again coming into the chicane. Porcelli looks to the inside, thinks wiser of it. He's going to back out of it, see if he can get something done by the start-finish line. I don't think so. You can see right there, that's where Ari is picking up all of his time is through that chicane. He's got it figured out. David Porcelli able to keep the gap right about 0.3 of a second, but not able to really close it up. You can see in the braking zones he seems to be picking it up, but Ari just able to exit off these corners so much harder. This is an open setup series, so maybe Ari's gotten something figured out. Maybe the damper settings of this car, maybe he's got a gear ratio figured out that's just working so much better than everyone else's car tonight.
And this is what open competition does. Look at this. Oh,
side by side entering the chicane now. Ari's going to back out of it, going to let him by, and he's going to run side by side with Ben. Ben looks up the inside, side by side, coming into the final sector of the track.
That is perfect. That is amazing.
It's always such a risky pass to make right there. We saw when Chris Preston and Porcelli were side by side a couple seasons ago, how that ended poorly for all parties involved.
Yeah, Nicholas Daly coming back up to the 5th position. He gets around Mobin Khan and Wesley Hazelworth. And he seems to be closing this gap up a little bit on your top 4. And maybe by the end of this one, he's going to start putting himself into the fight.
And if the top 4 keeps battling like they do, yeah, they're going to lose time and Nicholas Daly can maybe bridge the gap.
Ari Corcadillos, your fastest car on track, back in that 3rd position. He's going to have a little bit of work to do if he wants to get back onto that top spot. 3rd position, still a respectable finish, still a good night, but not as good as taking home the checkered. David Porcelli, though, going to try and defend on Benjamin. Oh, they're going to run side by side once again in the chicane. Porcelli has to give up the spot. Benjamin Barteu is your new race leader.
I thought Ari would take it free wide there.
That's for the last lap.
I don't know. With the way these guys have been racing, I don't know if they're going to wait till the last lap. Nicholas Daly, I think, is in the best seat in the house. We'll ride on board with him for a little bit. And can't really see it much in front of him, but if these guys start duking it out really hard, you can see he's picked up half a second on them. If they start duking it out and wrecking some race cars, it's going to put him in prime position to win this race.
You see, James, I like to be in that position.
Oh, I do too. In fact, I was even able to win a league race in this car on Tuesday by being 4th behind the guys battling for the lead and picking up the pieces when they killed themselves coming to the white flag.
That's the best way to do it.
Great feeling, right?
You can
Efficiency.
see some shuffling going on towards the back of the field, but we have a new swap for position leader. David Porcelli takes it for a second, but Benjamin goes right back for it through the chicane.
That is so lovely.
Oh, and Benjamin bobbles over the apron. That's going to give Porcelli a huge run to try and get across the line. Benjamin beats him across the line that time, but David kind of figuring out. He can get something done there. David's going to try to run side by side through the S's. Again, wisely backs out of it, but he's leaving that card up his sleeve for the final lap, I'm thinking.
This is so lovely.
You know, the only thing that would make this race better and infinitely piss off Wes Shire and Ben Carswell is if we ran the club version of this track with the alternate
you hush
front part of the
that.
S's.
Why is the front version?
You don't want to know.
It is the best version of this circuit.
No, it's not. You lie. You lie like a dog. Whoever designs those chicanes need to be taken out back and beaten about the head.
Oh wait, it involves chicanes?
Yep, that's the club section.
Wow.
Now you see what I mean.
Ari is going to make it 3 wide coming into this chain. There's no way they survive through this.
Kidding me?
Oh, a little bit of Ari and Benjamin into each other. That hands the race lead over to David Porcelli. Ari rejoining the track, takes out Nagisa Yoshikawa.
Oh, my
Oh,
God,
heartbreak
what
for
are we
Nagisa.
doing? Oh my God. What are we doing here, guys? That's just not right. Like, come on. You have a relative. You gotta use it. That's...
Yeah, a little. I almost wonder if it wasn't so much unsafe rejoin, but just he was stuck against Benjamin. Benjamin able to safely get down the pit lane. And it's going to be the David Porcelli and Everett Paddock show. I think I've seen this show before, maybe a couple times last season, and definitely a lot of times the season before.
Check who is coming back on that. That's Nicholas Daly. He's rubbing his hands.
Yeah, this is exactly what Nicholas Daly wanted to see. This is just what we were talking about. Wait for the leaders to get into each other, and it puts you right back into the fight. Nicholas Daly getting a little Formula Drift action coming through that final part before the back straightaway.
That free wide was so unnecessary.
Yeah, but it looked cool.
It looks cool, yeah, but I mean, if you're in third, just like if you see the two guys going side by side, I don't know if I was in this position. I would have.
Yeah, like it's a struggle to get through the chicane side by side, let alone 3 wide.
You're talented enough to do it side by side. I struggle going through there by myself.
I never said I could do it.
Nicholas Daly with the new fastest lap smashes Ari's record out of the window. He goes around in a 1 minute 15.4, and Jerome Hag all the way back in the 5th position, new fastest lap with a 15.272. An absolute heater of a lap. He is on the hunt trying to chase down Mobin Khan. Little bit of a gap between them and Alexander Wesley Hazelworth trying to chase down Jerome Hag, but with lap times like that, I don't think he's going to do it.
Everett has been not like back the whole race, and now he's really keeping pace with Porcelli. So that's really good race management from him.
And we'd expect nothing less from him.
And Everett Paddock going to take it side by side into the chicane. This seems to be the hot passing spot for these cars. On the suboptimal side, on the exit of chicane, and Nicholas Daly is right there. Less than half a second separates the front of David Porcelli's car and the gearbox of Nicholas Daly's car. Now, put it on your bingo card. You can toss a blanket over these top 3. Just 4 laps remain in the first round of the doubleheader tonight. Coming up after this will be a short 5 to 10 minute break, and then we come right back at you with the USF2000 action. Those cars very similar to these ones. Same engines, a little bit less horsepower, a little bit of less wings on the cars, and fixed setups most importantly. Whole field is going to be on equal footing, equal playing ground. I think we'll see an even closer race than that one. Yep, not looking to make the move this time. He's waiting to get a little bit closer, get a little bit of a better exit coming onto the back straightaway. And I think waiting for the white flag.
Yeah, there's absolutely no need to make a move now.
Yeah. There's no
Yep. And we've got 3 of the most cerebral drivers in the series battling for the win. So yeah, we're just going to see a whole lot of chess right here.
Wes Shire, I believe, is your hard charger. Starting tonight in the 14th position. He has worked his way up to the 12th position. Let's spotlight Wes's car a little bit. Now, we don't have the graphics on there, but I do know his sponsor. I'll shout him out. Tales from Rukon. It's a YouTube channel. He plays D&D with a couple of his buddies. It's always a great time to sit back, relax, watch his show, and have a couple beers with them, and really just enjoy the craziness that goes on in that fantasy world they've got there. But
we've got on Twitch. They
are on Twitch too. I forgot about that. We've got one hell of a race going on at the front of the field, though. So enough about Wes. These guys are going crazy. Everett Paddock going to look to make the move once again. Oh, he's going to send it up in there. No contact. Tries for the switchback. Doesn't get anything done there, though.
I don't think he wanted to make
Jerome getting by Mobin Khan now. Jerome, your fastest driver in the field at this moment. Sitting about 5 seconds back from these top 3, but if they're running as close as they are, we could see another incident that really puts Jerome up in that 3rd position, or possibly even on the top spot, depending on how bad the carnage is. Just 2 laps remaining in this one at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, he's in the danger zone of falling out of the draft.
Yeah, Nicholas Daly and Everett Paddock, both of those cars getting huge gaps behind David Porcelli. I almost wonder if these guys have kind of burnt up their stuff, and David Porcelli's the only one that's still left with rubber on the tires.
Probably. I mean, this is not the time to hide into the danger zone.
Jerome Hag and Mobin Khan racing aggressively, though. And as soon as I say that, of course, it's the Cam Ops curse. They start spreading out a little bit. But we'll watch them going into the braking zone of the chicane. Will we see a move out of Mobin Khan? He's going to elect for the right side. It's a disadvantage in the first part, but if he can hold it side by side, he can get the move done in the second. Has to back out of it, though. It's going to be Jerome Hag hanging on to that 4th position. Just 2 laps to go. Popsicle sticks in the air, and David Porcelli is still your leader. With a gap of 3/4 of a second, I'm almost willing to say it's his race to lose. He really just has to keep this pace up. That gap almost up to a second now. Just keep this pace up, and they can't touch him. You can see how much cleaner Porcelli's able to get off that exit. He just kind of squares the car up right against that apron. A little bit of a 4-wheel drift, but not sliding the back end out. Where you can see Paddock and Daly with a little bit of a tank slapper going through there.
I mean... Oh, Paddock.
Daly and Paddock. Paddock having to step on the brakes early. I almost wonder if he was feeling something funny with the car. Maybe lost a little bit of confidence. But that's going to put Nicholas Daly up into the 2nd position. White flag in the air, though. It's going to be David Porcelli across the line first. Only 1 to go. Nicholas Daly with the new fastest lap of the race, so he's obviously still got rubber on that car. Fastest car in the field right now. Half a second separate him and Porcelli. He's really got to work hard if he's going to want to come and take that top spot. And Everett Paddock, I think, is in prime position. Daly is going to be desperate to make this move, and it's always the possibility of contact between the top 2.
I feel like he's too far. He's probably out of time. Like he's really overdoing it now.
He has to nail this corner. Does he get it? Seems to get off it perfectly. Half a second still. That is within drafting range. You're going to see Porcelli snaking down this back straightaway. Gap now down to 0.4 of a second. 0.3 of a second, and we haven't even approached the braking zone yet. He's going to be close enough to try and make the move. 0.2 of a second now. No move there, but can he get the run into the final corner? He's right on the gearbox. A little bit of a bobble, though, and I think that's going to give it to Porcelli. Does he have anything left here? No, he doesn't. It's going to be David Porcelli first across the line. Nicholas Daly shortly in second with yet another fastest lap of the race. Everett Paddock in the 3rd position. Jerome Hag coming across in the 4th spot. Mobin Khan 5th. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth in the 6th position. Still waiting for Wes Shire to cross the line. He'll be there in the 7th position. Stephen Thompson, another TNT regular, in the 8th position. Rob Eskew finishing 9th. Brian Labarge in the 10th position. Jason Miller, still waiting for him to come across the line. He's entering the final corner now. He takes it. He's going to be your 11th place finisher. Benjamin Barteo in the pit lane after that contact with Nagisa Yoshikawa and Ari Korkadillos. He's going to finish 12th. Nagisa, unfortunately, finishing 13th. Ari going to be in the 14th position. And Brian Karszewski finishing 10 laps down after some early trouble. He is going to finish dead last, unfortunately. But there's always time in the USF2000 race to make that gap up. And try and give it another go. Let's see if we get any celebrations out of David Porcelli. Seems to be doing another hot lap. He knows this race is over, right?
I think he's trying to go for a faster lap.
I don't believe they score anymore, though.
No, they don't.
Just going to park it right there in front of the flag stand, and we're going to see some absolutely perfect donuts out of these cars. Not quite as round as the typical donuts by Wes Shire, but you know what? I'll give him credit. This is a tough race, and yeah, I'll still give him a 9 out of 10 out of the donuts.
Good old donuts.
So there is your top 10 running order as we try and get everyone in here for the interviews. Nicholas Daly is the only one I'm seeing in there, so we'll bring in your second place finisher. And Nicholas Daly, one hell of a run tonight. You set the fastest lap on the white flag lap of the race. Did you think you had anything for David, especially going into that final chicane?
Oh man, that was wild. I never would have expected to be up there at the final lap. Yeah, I was like 8/10 back when the white flag came out, so I was like, I don't know if I'll get close enough to make a move, and it was turned out to be a lot closer than I thought, like on the straight, but still just a little bit too far back. But yeah, it's unbelievable to finish a tenth of a second off the leader after starting P14. I did not expect that.
I thought West started P14, so that would make you the hard charger of the race, climbing up 12 positions tonight. Absolutely fantastic job. What was going through your head there when Ari and Brian, Benjamin were beating and banging there and getting into each other? Did you kind of see the checkered flag, or was it just game time then to try and catch the leaders?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just too far back to see what all was happening. I just saw two cars parked on the side of the road, and I thought that's two easy positions right there.
Hell yeah, freebies. Well, why don't we get all your sponsor plugs and thank yous in? Trading Paints wasn't work tonight, so tell us who was on the side of your race car.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Shout out to Downforce Racing. Is using a setup that we developed from a previous season, since we usually get pretty good setups I'm happy with. Shout out to you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and thank you to all the viewers for watching.
Hell yeah, well, thank you very much. Fantastic run tonight, and hopefully we're speaking to you again about 40 minutes after the end of the USF2000 race.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you guys.
No problem, thank you. Next up is going to be your third place finisher, Everett Paddock. What is going on, Everett? You had one hell of a battle going on with David Porcelli after the top two wrecked themselves. What happened there? It seemed like you lost a little bit of speed on the final 3 laps or so.
My crew chief didn't fill the car with enough gas.
Oh, no. So were you just in full fuel save mode, just trying to get the car to the checkered flag?
Well, I thought I had done enough, honestly. And honestly, and part of it, I didn't have much for David or Ari or Benjamin. They were fast and they were good racers, right? But I was like, oh, I'll just pedal, I'll pedal, and then I'm like, all right, it was maybe like a lap or two too early, because I was like, when I was across the line, I'm like, man, I only had like 2.8 gallon or 2.8 laps of fuel left, so that stuck.
Oh man! So did you cross the line under engine power, or were you just coasting down the downhill?
No, I did. I had power, right? When I backed off when Nick had a run, he was fast, right? I was like, there's no way I could hold off Nick and finish, so I just let him go, and I thought I'd just try to hang on and pedal. So I had to pedal it really bad on the last lap, but I did have engine power.
Awesome. Well, why don't we get all your sponsor plugs and thank yous in tonight? Trading Paints wasn't working, so we got to know who was on the side of your race car tonight.
Is that right? Yeah, just TNT Racing, GRT simulators, but we haven't really been sponsored by them for a while, so it's been a while since I've had to say that on the air. But thanks to David and Nick for a good run, and hope to see Benjamin and Ari back. They did a nice job tonight, and thanks for hosting thanks for broadcasting tonight. See you guys.
Hell yeah! Hopefully we're speaking to you again soon. And last but definitely not least is going to be your race winner, David Porcelli. David, one hell of a run out of you tonight. Absolutely put a showing on the field. It was the Ari and Ben show for a bit there, but they got them into each other and basically handed the production off to you. What were you thinking when that happened?
Oh man, I got lucky there. I think you run that incident about 10 times into the algorithm. I think all 3 of us are crashing 8 of those times. It was just the luck of the draw that I made it through. I felt like I was impeded from both sides. I feel like either like they weren't fully aware that we were 3 wide, or something. But up until that point, the racing had been super duper clean and on point. So I figure there was just some small miscommunication or calculation from those two drivers simultaneously, and that led to us getting together. But once I realized I made it through, my only concern was whether or not I had front wing damage, and I didn't. My front right wheel, the toe was bent out, but I had a little bit of understeer through the rights. The important part was I still had straight line speed, and it was just a matter of keeping the pace up. I knew Everett and Nicholas were barking down my rear, and I had to make sure that I could secure first position. And sure enough, the car still had the pace in order to maintain that spot. So just really, really grateful I made it through that incident. And uh, welcome to the series, Ari and Benjamin. Sorry we had contact, but that was some awesome racing.
Are you telling me you ran the last 6 laps of that race with a towed out front right tire? And
Yeah, I think
and
it
you
was
were
towed
still
in.
setting 15.3s.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
Holy crap, man. Well, trading paints wasn't work tonight. We know Team Watson Racing is on the side of your race car, but who else is on there, man?
Absolutely. Shout out to Satellite Racing, Racecraft One Indianapolis. Hi to the family. Thanks to National Racing Network for an awesome broadcast. Welcome back to a new season, everyone. And I'm hoping to secure both championships. So let's go.
Hell yeah. Well, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we can get back to you again at the end of the USF2000 race.
All right. See you in 20.
Just the absolute confidence. Yeah, I'll see you in 20. David Borcelli, he's a driver who knows he's fast, and he backs it up with results. James, what were your thoughts on tonight's show?
It was crazy. Road Atlanta never fails to put on a great show with these cars because we always get a lot of chaotic moves going down into the chicane in the closing laps, and just seeing the cars snake their way through the first sector is always such an awesome view to watch, you know?
Hell yeah. And Sebastian, what do you think of this track? This track used to hold the Petit Le Mans, Petit being a French word, Le Mans being the greatest race in France. So, obviously, you gotta love this place. It's like the little Le Mans here in America.
I mean, as we like to say in France, petit mais costaud, small but tough, and that's its place, and it just produced something insane. And I just love Road Atlanta. It's a fun track. It vibes.
It vibes, hell yeah. Well, we're not going quite off the air, but we are going to take a little bit of a break, catch our breath a little bit, and we'll be right back at top of the hour for the USF 2000 car. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the iRacing US Open Wheel doubleheader presented here on the National Racing Network. We've got the USF2000 cars out now. You can see they look slightly different than the ones before, only a single element wing on these machines. A little bit less horsepower too out of these guys, but should put on for a fantastic show. A little more drag, a little more draft, and a little more excitement, I think. Looks like David Porcelli just absolutely banging it off of the chip, trying to burn as much fuel as possible. I'm going to call shenanigans on that one. Oh, no, we're looking at, number 1 of David Porcelli. Wonder what he's doing there. James, do you care to comment? You ever done anything like this before?
Definitely. One of my earliest races on the service was in USF in Road Atlanta. It was actually one of the first races with my Club Sport V3, so to be able to have actual feeling going down into the chicane for the first time was really nice.
Wait, Bizzle, could you stream to us again?
Yes, a little bit of technical difficulties going on before. We got them all sorted out now for everyone, but I do need to share with our other commentators what they're going to look at on the television screen.
Thank you, Bizzle.
No problemo. So we have nobody going out there and setting a time just yet.
Andre Castro, that name sounds familiar. Isn't he driving these cars in real life?
I am not sure. I know we have an Andre in the Lotus 49s. It might be the same Andre.
Indy.
Yes, he does. Well, how
So-
about that?
We have a real-world Indy Pro 2000 driver joining us tonight. He's run a couple races before in these cars, but frankly, I don't think I've seen him on the top spot in these things before. He's going to have some tough work getting around David Porcelli and Rod Eskew, Nicholas Daly, some of the top names we're used to seeing, but he's in that number 2 car, so I don't think it'd be a problem. Nicholas Daly so far with the top time. Andre Castro looking like he's going a little bit faster. Andre Castro at the top spot, slinging the thing sideways, absolutely wheeling this car. Working out well for him, though. Lap time so far of a 1 minute 21.476. Christian Savaglio going even faster. It's going to be a 121.179. Christian, another new name, to me at least, in these USF 2000 cars. I got to dock some points away from, though. He is running a Ferrari F1 scheme. We do frown upon that here in the US Open Wheel cars, but if he's going to go fast, maybe I'll give a little hope for Ferrari fans around the world.
I mean, right now, sadly, this is the one exception to the rule to a certain James Watson. And look at this. Look at that number. The number 7. Wow.
Yes,
It's
the
o-
number of the GOAT.
It's okay. If you guys want to be Ferrari fans, you know, you can be happy with finishing second and back of the grid all the time. I'll sit happily.
We're doing that good now? Oh, hell yeah, I'll take it.
I'll happily sit on my throne on the top spot. Team Red Bull, let's go, Max.
Oh, bandwagon man.
Anyways,
Whatever. So 3 minutes remaining in qualifying. Looks like just about everyone out there getting their time in. Christian Savaglio. There's no double N there. He goes even faster than his first time with a 1 minute 29.66. So he's the only driver in the 20s so far. David Porcelli still out there on his second lap. He's just got to get around and see what he can do. Go a little bit faster. Not sure where he's tracking so far, but only one corner to go. Then we can all find out. Will he take the top spot? He does improve a little bit, brings him up to the third spot. That's going to put him on the inside of the line in the second row. As long as no one else goes faster. Nathan Yu still on the circuit. He's kind of just sitting there in pit lane, so I don't think he's going to go out and make another attempt. Jason Miller coming through the final chicane for the final time. Where is he going to end up at? Always love looking at Jason Miller's cars. They're all the old PPG kart schemes. Jason Miller bumps himself up to the 8th position. Not quite where he wants to be, but not a terrible spot to be in either. Ben Carswell, another driver sitting in the pit lane. He's going to take his 12th place position. Tanner Smith still coming around the track. He's already got both his laps in, but just getting a little bit of extra practice in, especially going through these S's. And these cars with the open differential, it's very easy to slide the rear of these things around. Now, James, you drive these cars a little bit more often than I do. What is the biggest difference behind the wheel between the PM18 and USF2000? Do you feel like it's the horsepower difference, the differential difference?
Well, it's definitely the differential difference. See what happened right there happen a lot more. You get a lot of off-throttle oversteer, which it can be difficult to deal with if you're not anticipating it. So oftentimes, I kind of rate this car harder to drive than the Indy Pro, if we're being completely honest.
I second this.
See, I always really preferred the USF2000 because of the open diff. I like driving a car with an open diff, and actually most of my limited slip cars I drive, I open the diff up on the coast side, so you do get kind of that sideways action when you lift off the throttle.
I like the rear to be planted on corner entry. It's corner exits when I want the rear to not be planted.
I just don't want the rear to kill me in the car.
Yeah, that's it.
Beamer LMDH.
See, I'm a fan of the Lotus 49. That thing tries to kill you on the gas, on the brakes, going straight, turning, don't matter. That thing is a little death trap, and I love it.
I mean, just like the 49ers. To James.
Yeah, but there's less bodily harm being caused by the Lotus 49.
Well, at least you're not an A's fan.
I am an A's fan, you jerk! Screw you, Las Vegas. And hockey, too.
Well, as qualifying comes to a close, we already have plenty of drivers getting themselves onto the grid here. As we wait for everyone to get up onto the starting grid. So first up is going to be Christian Savaglio with an absolute heater of a lap time. Next after him is going to be Thomas Strage, only about 2/10 back, I believe. Not very far off the time, so 2 absolute flying laps by these guys. Waiting for the graphics to quit freaking out. I can give you the times they got. Savagliano, the only car in the minute 20s. David Porcelli starting in that 3rd position with a minute 21.309. He is 0.3 of a second off of your pole sitter. Nicholas Daly to his outside, going to be a 121.322 out of that car. Ari Corcadillos, your fastest car, your pole sitter from the previous race, going to be starting in that 5th position. Andre Castro, the rear-wheel driver of these cars, half a second off Christian Savaglio. Really, I'm looking to see what these guys can do. Some new names to me in this series, and new guys are always the best because you don't know what's happening. Next up is going to be Brian Labarge in the 7th starting position and Jason Miller. Nathan Yu and Rod Eskew on row number 5. Zhao Silva and Ben Carswell on row number 6. Row 7 is going to have Stephen C. Thompson and Eric Cox. Tanner Smith in that number 17 car and Nee Camargo in the number 12. And Chris Wetz in the number 17th starting position, starting all the way at the back of the field. We saw this work out pretty well in the last race, but I could see a little more carnage in the USF2000 cars being a D-Class series.
Yeah, I do remember a certain Phoenix race of pure chaos.
Yeah. Lord.
Oh. Ooh,
Whoa.
who was that? That was 6th place. That sounds like Castro, actually.
Yeah, almost an I don't wreck when I do this kind of moment out of Andre Castro. As we see a bunch of the drivers weaving, I think we have to do a pre-race drivers meeting where we show them the famous video of James Watson trying to warm his tires there at one of the 1.5 miles and unfortunately ending up in the grass.
Which is on YouTube, by the way.
No idea what you're talking about.
I don't like the number 1.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice.
Andre Castro really trying to get everything he can out of these cars, really warming the brakes up. You can see him doing some rear world tactics, pulling up alongside these drivers, smashing the brakes, making sure the brakes are hot. So if there is an incident going in turn 1, he knows they'll grab. So as they come down the backstretch for the final time under the pace laps, they're going to get ready for that pace car to take the hard right-hand turn down the access road into the pit lane. Do you think we see another huge jump out of this one, or do you think they're going to be more calm until they grab that green flag?
Yes.
Well,
No, they're going to go right as soon as the pace car goes off.
yeah, at least we're not seeing any shenanigans like we usually do at Road America, where they lay way back from the pace car. You're seeing it a little bit.
Talk to me about Road America starts.
But the pace car is in, and almost immediately Christian Svaglio is off and away. Single file in the front row, but there's still 2x2. David Porcelli and Thomas Schrade side by side going to be entering turn number 1. Single file now all the way back to the 8th position. You have to look all the way to 13th now for a side-by-side battle. Thomas Schrade's right on the rear gearbox of David Porcelli as they go through the S's. This is also one of the hardest corners on track. It is flat out. You can see how far they run it wide, into the grass, into the sand. They both live straight through it though. Christian Svaglio absolutely pulling away from your leaders. Gap is already up to a second, and we're not even halfway done with the first lap of this one. Only a 12-lap race for the USF2000 cars. Good and short, usually only about 15 minutes in these ones. Thomas Schrade's getting the move done down the back straightaway. I don't know if Porcelli backed out of that one or if the draft is just that strong here in the USF2000 cars.
I honestly believe it's the latter. Draft is pretty heavy with these cars coming down the long back straightaway.
Yeah, since they're underpowered and stuff.
Yeah, these things are a fair bit underpowered. You can see Andre Castro going for the move in the turn number 1. He's going to get it on Nicholas Daly. Yeah, these cars are a little bit underpowered, and with the fixed setup, they're running a good deal more downforce than some of the guys in the PM18 might have been. So these things punch a huge hole in the air. It's almost like running a NASCAR stock car around this speedway in these little open wheelers.
The Gen 6 with big ass spoilers.
Yeah, giant ass spoilers.
My favorite metric for NASCAR is every time they change the rear spoiler height, they always compare it to a pop can. Just stick one right up on the rear deck lid, and is the spoiler taller or shorter than it? I think they've been doing that probably 20 years now. pop can spin the metric. They are side by side, though. Once again, it's going to be Porcelli and Schrage side by side going into this final chicane.
Savaglia just checked out.
Yeah, Andre Castro giving the push to David Porcelli. He's going to run in the third position now. I don't know if Porcelli's got anything for Castro to keep him behind. Castro, once again, one of the real-world drivers of these cars. He's out here just practicing, getting laps in, maybe playing a video game, just having a good time. But he steps into this actual car week in, week out and runs these things. Christian Svaglio with a new fastest lap. I think that was even quicker than his pole time. Nobody even close to his time. Closest driver is going to be Andre Castro, still 3/10 back in raw pace.
That's actually so great to see.
Crazy just seeing him absolutely walk away from everyone. It's
Yep.
not
Huge battle going on towards the rear. It's going to be Thomas Schrage up there. Nicholas Daly with the huge move. Almost contact. Your running order now is going to be Svaglio, Porcelli, Schrage, Castro, and Ari. Ari with a gutsy move in the previous one. Let's see if he's got anything up his sleeve for this one or if he's going to calm it down. We are a quarter of the way through this one already.
Which I remind you, won the last race with a towed out right from time.
Yeah, he won that one and set almost a fast lap of the race with a damaged race car. I want to ride on board here with Christian Svaglio and see exactly what he's seeing because, frankly, he has just been doing a phenomenal job. He's got to have hands smooth as butter going around this racetrack.
James, I think it's
It's gotta be.
You can see, almost calculates how much sand he's going to get going through there. I'm not seeing any opposite lock, any counter steer out of this guy. Really, in this next corner, we've been seeing a lot of drivers get super loose through. Let's see if he gives it any left-hand wheel through.
no.
Not even a hair of it. He's got this place figured out. He's got this car figured out. I think he might be a contender for the Broadcast Championship. Riding on board now with David Porcelli, running the Good Smile Racing car.
You'll love to see it.
Love to see it. He's a man of culture.
You guys are degenerates. I see why he
Yeah.
drives for Team Watson Racing now.
I mean, you are the place for degenerates.
So we're going to take the camera off of Christian Svaglio for a little bit. He's absolutely running away from these guys. We have a battle for second place going on. It seems to be a four-way battle. But Christian Svaglio with a new fastest lap of the race. Nope, give it to Ari Kokatelos with a 1 minute 26.55. That is 0.3 of a second faster than your pole speed.
Wow.
It's amazing to me how these cars always seem to come in later in the run. I don't know if it's because of the fuel burn. I don't know if the tires like being a little overheated. You just can't get them hot enough in qualifying, but they always seem to go faster in the race than in qualifying.
Bit of both. Those Cooper tires, they take a while to heat up, actually.
A long time, probably like 2-3 laps worth.
Yep, these vehicles running Cooper tires, sponsored by Cooper tires in the real world. This would be the USF2000 series, and then the PM18s are now referred to as USF Pro. A little bit of a name change we had for 2023 season. I'm still getting used to it myself, but happy to see these guys are still out there racing these wonderful race cars in the real world. As Andre Castro goes 2 for 1.
2 for 1 special. That's racing intelligence right there.
Andre Castro up to the third position. Does he have anything for Thomas Schrage now? And the more important question, do you think he can catch up to Christian Svaglio?
No, never say never.
Never say never, but we are halfway through this one, so heat's turned all the way up. The water in the pot's boiling. He's going to have to go and get him if he wants it. can't take his time trying to fight Thomas Schrage for that second position. He's going to have to go for it, make the dive bomb, and try and start chasing down Christian. I just don't think there's enough time left in this one.
I don't think so either. The big gap to make up.
Okay, to go back on that move, if I'm Porcelli, I'm pissed off. James, you know how I take being overtaken by 2 guys in the corner.
Right. Oh, come on.
You had to pull the imitation of a French note.
You got to work on your French accent, but that was pretty good. Andre Castro going side by side now, trying to get the move on Thomas Schrage. He's going to be ahead coming into the left-hander. Not going to be able to seal the deal just yet, though. That's going to happen in the right-hander, I think, as long as there's not contact here. Clears him going into the left-hander. Still clear going into the right, riding along with Thomas Schrage. Now, it's going to be Andre Castro's show for that second position. As it's now a 3-way fight, David Porcelli wanting his way back up in that third spot. Now he's going to try and chase down the real deal, Andre Castro.
That's why. That was why. It's a rare mistake from David Porcelli.
And don't forget about Ari. Ari, absolutely fantastic, very aggressive in the last race. He's going to have some moves for this one. Sliding the car a little bit, almost making contact with Thomas Schrage. Able to get through cleanly, and he's going to be ahead exiting onto the back straightaway.
Yeah, but here.
They're going to be side by side now, going down the back straightaway. Thomas is going to have the draft, but I think Ari's going to have the preferred line. Again, you lose a little bit through the left-hander, but you pick it all back up through the right-hander in this left-right chicane. And he stays side by side. Has to back out of it. Nicholas Daly almost looking for it. Doesn't choose to go for it. Christian Savaglio up now to a 4.5-second lead. I don't think I've ever seen that much of a gap in these cars. Whenever Carter Lundy comes back to these things, I think he's going to have some real competition. Ari able to get the move on Thomas Schrage. Ari puts himself up into that 4th position. Going to have some work to do to catch David Porcelli, though.
Master of this virtual cars against the master of the real cars. This is going to be very interesting.
Finally, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary.
Yeah. David Porcelli, last season's champion in both this car and the PM18 or the USF2000 Pro car. One of the best of the best. He's in that #1 car for a reason. And Andre Castro, one of the rear-world drivers. It's almost like getting up there and being able to race against your rear-world heroes. Andre Castro, I don't know if he even knows who David Porcelli is. Maybe he's run with him a couple times in this series before, but David Porcelli definitely knows who Andre is. And he's going to put up a pretty good fight. Only 4 laps remaining in this one.
Meanwhile, the battle of course is heating up. We've got Page, Daly, and Ari, who's more battling. They're neck and neck.
Porcelli taking a little bit of a wider entry. It's going to help him on the exit. He's going to have room to go too wide into turn 1 if he chooses to peek out. Doesn't peek out coming into 1, lifts a little bit. He's going to wait for the backstretch to make the move. Or will he? He's looking to the outside. He's looking to the inside. Not going to be quite close enough, though.
This is a 4D chess match right there.
I've never played 4D chess, so I am not sure how I would compare it. I would definitely compare driving race cars to playing chess, but 4D chess, that sounds like a little much for me.
I can't even play 1D chess.
James, that's called playing with yourself.
Anyways.
On that bombshell.
Only 3
Time to
laps
end.
remaining.
Time goes by fast when you're having fun.
Yep, only 365 more days to Le Mans of next year. As David Porcelli has the huge run going down the backstretch. Not quite close enough to go and get it, but there's still 2 laps left in this one after they cross the start-finish line. seeing some cloudy gray skies overhead. Not the usual out here in Braselton, Georgia. This track situated about 45 minutes northeast of Atlanta. We have one hell of a battle going on behind, though. Ari, a little bit of contact with Thomas in the turn one. Nicholas Daly is going to capitalize. Are they going to run 2x2? No, they're not. They're going to let Ari run single file up there for that 4th position. As we come back up to the Andre Castro, David Porcelli fight for that 2nd spot. These are your final 2 spots on the podium. Hopefully we get to talk to both these guys because, frankly, I've never spoken to Andre before. It's not often I get to chat with some of the rear-wheel drivers on the iRacing side. Hopefully we can get him a link to get him in here. David Porcelli, obviously a very usual face around here, so definitely get to speak to him as long as he can keep it in that 3rd position. Christian Savaglio catching up to some lap traffic, though. That's going to be the number 13 car of Eric Cox. And effortlessly passes him around the outside. I call shenanigans there. I think Eric Cox gave him the spot. Thomas Rage getting the position back on Ari Corcadillos. These 2 cars are going to really be trying to fight down your top 3. Not sure it's going to happen, though, with only 2 laps remaining. We're working on lap number 11 out of 12. It's going to be the white flag next time by. Last lap out of Andre Castro is a 1 minute 21.225. David Porcelli's last lap, only 25 thousandths of a second slower. So these guys running nearly identical pace. Not sure either one has an advantage. It's really going to be a matter of, does Andre slip up? With lap traffic coming up ahead, I definitely see the possibility of a slip up, but I don't think it's likely.
Knowing what usually happens when I give my opinion on these things, I'm just going to not say anything.
No, go for it, James. That's why we've got you up in the booth here tonight. David Porcelli going to try and send it too wide into the chicane. Hold that thought, James. Porcelli backing out of it. Can he go for the crossover? Gets it a little bit wiggly, but he saves the vehicle. James, what were you going to say there?
Well, I'm going to say that that mistake is not very likely. And we'll see if the curse hits.
Well, white flag is in the air. I'd show you Christian Savaglio, but he's 7 seconds ahead of these guys, and we've got one hell of a fight going on for second. So we'll leave the spotlight on these guys for just a little bit longer. Still single file, but they were right on the gearbox of one another. Andre running a little bit wide. That's going to allow David Porcelli to close that gap up just a little bit more.
That lap's car. Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to give Andre the draft, but sacrifices the exit for Porcelli. This could mean the difference between finishing 2nd or 3rd for David Porcelli. I don't think he's close enough to send the move down.
No, that car could have done even block Castro.
Yeah.
He's going to need a Hail Mary here. And Thomas Rage, that is exactly what he wants to see. One hell of a Hail Mary and maybe some contact between these guys. There it is. They're going to be side by side. Can he get the crossover done? No, he can't. It's going to be Christian Savaglio across the line first. Let's go back to these guys. Side by side, Christian Savaglio is going to win the race. They're going to be side by side coming across the line. Give it to Andre Castro. David Porcelli going to come home in the 3rd position. Thomas Strage coming home in 4th. Ari Corcadillos 5th. Jason Miller finishing in the 6th position in that beautiful PPG car. Nicholas Daly coming home 7th. Nathan Yu in the 8th position. Chris Wetz in the 9th position. Not quite across the line just yet. It's unofficial. Still waiting for him to take that checkered flag. And there it is. Chris Wetz going to finish in the 9th position. Rod Eskew coming across now, and that is your top 10. João Silva through the final corner. He's going to finish in the 11th position. Steven Thompson, once again, another car through the final corner. He's going to finish 12th. Waiting on Brian Labarge now, all by himself, going to be in the 13th position. No pressure from behind. Tanner Smith Now coming under the bridge, down the downhill into the final corner. He's going to finish 14th. Nick Camargo is going to be 15th. And Eric Cox is going to finish in the 16th position. Ben Carswell, unfortunately, with some contact, 5 laps remaining, unable to complete this race.
Well, that was a race.
That was one
That was.
absolute hell of a race for second place. Christian Savaglio, no discredit to him. He did everything he needed to, won this race by a huge margin, led just about every lap. But that
Once again,
fight for second, absolutely fantastic.
Ferrari paint scheme with the number 7 never fails.
Right?
Boah.
Well, except that one time and that other time. As we wait for some of our drivers to come into the interview room, looks like we only have David Porcelli. Not sure if we have some of our other drivers, Andre Castro or Christian Savaglio, able to come into the timing booth. So we'll bring up David Porcelli. David, our third place finisher tonight, what was it like trying to chase down Andre? You had a couple real great moves there, just not able to seal the deal.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had a lapper who wasn't very respectful of the race and put their car on the exit of the back straight. So I really was hampered on my exit there. Felt like I had everything to set up a good battle. Andre put on a great fight. I got to get my head down and get some practice in next week because holy smokes, that pace from P1. Yeah, other than that, it was a great evening.
Hell yeah. Well, a third place finish is nothing to scoff at. Christian Savaglio coming out of left field, never seen him before in this series, absolutely dominating the race. So absolutely you've got some work to do if you want to be on the top spot again if he decides to show up every week. One more time, let's get those sponsor plugs and thank yous in. I saw the Good Smile Racing scheme. We got Trade and Paints working. So who else you want to thank tonight?
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Team Watson Racing, Satellite Racing, Racecraft 1 Indianapolis. Hi to the family. Thanks to National Racing Network for putting on an awesome broadcast every week. I can't wait to go back and watch that battle in the first race and watch my race get ruined by a lapper in the second race. Really excited. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, hopefully we're talking to you again next week. Hopefully on the top spot next time. You got to get that practice in and try and give Christian a run for his money.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Always appreciate a challenge.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much for coming out. So that's about getting ready to wrap the show up for us. James, what was your thoughts on that final race? Lap cars creating drama at the end. A new guy coming in winning the race. This race was freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was an absolutely unreal scrap for the last couple spots on the podium. Like, Christian was gone from the moment we threw the green down. But, like, it was an absolute amazing battle from start to finish for second on back.
Yeah, it felt like second through fifth the entire time was an absolute barn burner. Second through sixth, really, that next group of 5 cars. Sebastian, I know you're not usually with us for these U.S. open wheel races, so what were your thoughts on it? You gonna come back for some more? I know it's about 6 a.m. over there, so a little bit early for you.
I want to come back for more. I mean, it hasn't moved from when I last commentated, and just these guys are so freaking talented. They're so entertaining to watch, and you'll be in good hands in the National Racing Networks. For those broadcasts, you people watching. So, yep, US Open Wheel is still awesome.
Hell yeah! Well, this time you had to wake up at 4 in the morning, so why don't we get a broadcast going where I'll wake up at 4 in the morning, and it'll be like afternoon there. You'll commentate a race over your lunch break.
So yeah, I'll get to do play-by-play then because you'll be all tired.
Oh, I'll be half asleep still. Haven't had my morning coffee yet. Well, my name's Patrick Byrne. This has been the U.S. Open Wheel doubleheader here on the National Racing Network. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure to cover the show for you. Chris Graham, he will be back next week, put the show back in some professional hands. And join us again on Monday night for the U.S. Silver Crown Series. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night.